Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting episode, the I.M.A.G.E podcast, episode number 43.
Unbelievable.
That's right, and we made it. Image for Lives has been traveled around the country, live on location. We want to thank everyone out there for tuning in. We've got something exciting here in Des Moines, Iowa, December 7th. Put it on your calendar. It's a job fair, December 7th. Right here at the Renaissance Savory Hotel in Des Moines, Iowa. We're downtown Des Moines, Iowa right now.
Uptown.
And at the break, we've got a gentleman coming on by the name of Rodney Dilday. Now, Rodney is actually one of the representatives with Discount Dent, and they are a company that will take all the dents out of your car. And he's going to come and talk about that. Your insurance, if you have full coverage insurance, that's the only requirement. And then he takes it from there. They end up giving you money back, paying your deductible. It's considered an act of God claim, so it doesn't go against your claim. Rodney's going to talk more about that at the break. We've got Ken Silver in the house with us right now. And for those of you who don't know Ken Silver or don't remember Ken Silver, let me remind you. When I did that 11 consecutive years in prison for nonviolent drug convictions, Ken Silver was right there from start to finish. Ken Silver helped me find the Image for Lives program. He was the outside sponsor. And I'm so excited with all the guests that we've had on the show. I'm glad that Ken is now back with us and able to tell a little bit about his story. And we're able to talk a little bit about Image for Lives and break it all down.
Oh man, thank you. It's good to be back. You know, we've had a lot of episodes talking about image, but it's been a long time since we really defined image and what it's for. What does it stand for? You know, image, I.M.A.G.E, image. Inmate movement against gang evolution. This started in prison where gang violence is a major problem in a lot of areas. And we wanted to figure out how can you reduce it or eliminate it. Well, we came up with 4 basic principles. Number 1, live a godly life according to Christian principles. And I want to take a little time right now to give you some of my personal experience the last couple of years. 2 years ago in October, I went to bed very healthy, no problems, going to take a little nap for 3 or 4 hours and get up and drive down to Florida. A couple hours later, I woke up, my feet felt like they were asleep. I thought, well, something's wrong here. I got in the car, drove down to the emergency room at Lutheran Hospital. 2 hours later, I'm paralyzed, laying in the ICU. To make a long story short, I spent the next 2.5 months in the hospital and spent the next 1.5 years in rehabilitation. When I was first diagnosed, the doctors called my wife and said, you better hurry up and get down here if you want to see your husband alive. She hurried to the hospital with my grandson and started praying. The doctor still didn't know why I survived that a couple days later, because they had given up on me. And the only thing that they could say, apparently this prayer stuff really works. And I'm a living testimony today. You know, I'm not near as healthy as I was at one time, but I'm a lot healthier than I was a couple years ago. The Bible tells me I'm not perfect, and it says all have sinned. So it doesn't matter how much I've sinned or you've sinned. In my belief, Jesus took care of those sins. And as long as we pray, and as long as we follow those principles, God is going to take care of us. And I firmly believe that. That's the way I want to live my life. I tell some of my friends, they say, I don't believe in this God stuff or Christianity or anything. I say, well, let's talk a minute. Let's suppose I die and I'm wrong. What's the ramifications? Nothing. Let's say you die and you're wrong. Some pretty serious consequences for a long time. I'm not sure how long eternity is, but it's longer than I've been alive. So that's number one. We want people to live a godly life.
And that's also very important, Kim, because, the I.M.A.G.E program was not only built on the biblical principles, but it came through a lot of fasting and prayer.
I remember this guy, when we were developing the I.M.A.G.E program, would fast for days at a time and then come up with more information, more ideas, more things that we should do. And it just kind of, every time he went on a fasting period, it was just like he was fed more and more information, and it was awesome. Well, number two, one of the serious problems we have in our society, in prison, everywhere we go, we want to promote racial harmony. I don't understand why we have the problem, okay? It just, you people are going to think I'm crazy. You're going to criticize me and think I'm out of touch with reality. But, in my life and my people I deal with, I don't see a lot of racism. Maybe it's behind the scenes. Maybe it's not known. I don't know.
It is hidden. It's very hidden.
Well, and I think we also need to turn it around. I think there's a lot of racism, blacks towards whites.
And that is true, there is.
And, now we see racism against other nationalities. It's not just the color of our skin. It may be what we believe, it may be the country we come from, but when you get down to it, it's like, what's the problem? Why do we have this? And we're working hard to try to deal with all types of people at all levels, all races, and come up with, let's get rid of this. It's not that we're having fun doing it. I don't get a kick out of it. You don't get a kick out of it. So let's get rid of it and move on and do something else. The third thing that we talked about was we want to analyze and destroy gang mentality. Okay. Why do we have gang mentality? And why do we allow it to penetrate our kids? It just makes me shiver when I look at the news and I see some 14-year-old kid in a gang killed somebody else. Why did you kill them? Oh, they're in a different gang. Did you ever know them? Did they ever do anything to you? No, I don't know that, but they don't belong to my gang, so they belong to another gang, and so we have to hate them, and we have to shoot them and kill them. Well, how do we get rid of this? I think it starts at home. If you people got 12, 13, 14, 16-year-old kids, you better know what they're doing. And you can't let them run around without you knowing where they're going, what they're doing, if being able to carry guns into the house. One of the problems we have with society is parents failing to take care of their responsibility in raising their children. We have a lot of broken families where it's a serious problem. We have a lot of families where the mother and father are both there and they still have the problem. We don't discipline our children to teach them right and wrong. We don't set good examples. So I think if we're going to get away from this gang thing, it's got to start at home, just like a lot of other things. So
I agree with that, Ken, as well. And, having the opportunity to work as a teacher at the after-school program at both the Wilkie House in Des Moines, and I also worked at another school, but particularly the Wilkie House, which was more of the inner city. I was able to see that these kids had a major problem in the home because, a lot of single parents.
Yeah.
And the fathers weren't there.
And the mother has to work.
Yeah, and the mother has to work. And, I go back to even blaming myself, when it comes to taking the responsibility of being a father and growing up. And I always try to, whenever I'm talking to somebody or whenever I'm trying to help somebody, I let them know that I'm guilty of this, not being a father or not having the concept of being a father and raising my kids right after I had them. It took me to have to go to prison. It took me to have to, get my head beat in through child support and a lot of different other ways in order to come to the understanding that, there's a major effect on these kids when you're not in their life as a father.
Right. Somebody has to be the role model. Somebody has to teach them right from wrong, and somebody has to show them the discipline to keep them that way.
I agree.
I told Bobby, my 9-year-old grandson was in my house the other day, and he was just having a horrible time, not wanting to do what I told him to do. Finally, I got him in the bedroom, and I said, I love you very much, but you can't come to my house anymore. Why, Grandpa? Why? I said, you don't want to follow the rules of my house, so I don't want you to come in anymore.
And the amazing thing about that whole story, why I cracked up laughing, is because most people don't know, but your grandson is half black.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people, they may hear, we're so quick to judge people. So some people may hear you and think, oh, that's a racist guy or something like that. Maybe they don't. But
I think probably.
Okay, maybe there's something to do. And, they don't know that you have a grandson that's half black, and at the time that you spend in raising, that kid and the difference that's going to make in that kid's life.
That is a God thing, okay? That woman came to me and said she was pregnant. I wanted to never see her again. I wanted never to see her boyfriend again. I'm just so mad, I don't know what to do. Well, our belief is that you don't do abortion. God gave you a child, and you're supposed to raise that child. That boy turned out to be my whole life. I love that kid so much, more than anything I can imagine. God turned my heart around so that I could love him and help take care of him. The other part of the story is, a couple of days later, I was over at his house dropping some things off. He came outside, he had tears in his eyes, he gives me a big hug. He says, Grandpa, I want to follow your rules and come back. And I hope he remembers that that's part of the deal. I've got certain rules that I want you to live by when you're in my house. And he told me the other thing is, and I want to follow my mommy's rules too. So hopefully, you never know. He's 9 years old. When he's 13 or 14 years old, he could be a total train wreck. But right now, you do the best you can and you keep praying. Anyway, you mentioned child support. And the last part of our beliefs as far as image is prepare for re-entry into society.
Yes.
Now, that can affect people that are incarcerated.
Yes.
That can affect people who have broken their home, dropped out of society, whatever, but they need to re-enter. Let's start being citizens again and take care of our responsibilities as a citizen. And so what do we have? We have a family we've got to take care of. We've got a job we have to take care of. And we've got our society, our responsibilities in society. And that includes a lot of things. But one of the things it includes is voting responsibly with knowledge.
Voting responsibly with knowledge. Now, we are in election time right now.
We sure are.
And we've got a lot of people who are a little unaware of who's running for what. One of the things I used to always think is, hey, politics, don't get involved with it. One of the things that I've learned is you have to get involved in it. You have to vote. Your opinion counts. And, a lot of times when people tell you who they're going to vote for, that causes a lot of problems.
Well, and a lot of times they don't even know why they're voting for that person. They watch some ad on television, and all that ad does is try to tear down their opponent. It doesn't tell you what they stand for.
Right.
We've had podcasts talking about justice and injustice.
Yes.
Who decides the justice? Judges. You're going to get a ballot in front of you, and you're going to be able to vote on a whole list of judges. Should we keep them? Should we get rid of them? What do you know about the judges here in the city of Des Moines, in Polk County?
Yeah.
Boy, I'll tell you, that affects all of us.
Yeah, that's a good point that you bring that up. I mean, it's not just about who's running for governor or who's running for president. I mean, we need to figure out who's running for the judges, who's running for county attorney, who's running, a lot of these different things. That's another thing that I've learned since re-entering society is how important it is to kind of stay in the loop and know what's going on. Even when there's nothing that you can do about it, or when you think that there's nothing that you can do about it. Because 9 times out of 10, there is actually something you can do about it.
There's an old joke. The reason my wife and I get along so good, she handles the little problems and makes the little decisions. I make the big ones.
Yeah.
She decides what kind of car we're going to have. She decides where we're going to live. She decides how to raise the children.
Yeah.
I take care of the big decisions,
Yes.
Should we declare war on Russia? Should we allow a nuclear plant to be built down their throat? The big decisions.
Yeah.
That's the same thing we're talking about here. You can vote for president.
Mm-hmm.
That has an effect on you. But the immediate effect is if you're arrested for something, am I going to get justice? And that's determined by the county attorney and by the judges that are involved. So I've got a lot to talk about as far as voting and how we should handle it and what you would do. Do you need to take a break, or should we keep going?
Well, we've got Rodney here coming up to talk about the dent repairs, and I want to, I think it's very important that we let our audience know how important it is to vote and why they're voting.
Agreed.
But I think you're about out of gas right now, Ken, so we probably better take a break.
Well, I might have to take a nap. You let me know when Rodney's done, and I'll come back.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're locked and loaded into Nothing But Love. I.M.A.G.E TV podcast, episode number 43. We're going to go to a quick break. We're going to bring out Big Rodney, and he's going to talk about all this in paintless dent repairs.
Yeah.
That's right. We'll be back right after these messages. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back, and we've got Rodney Dilday with us, and Rodney is from Discount Dent Repair here in Des Moines, Iowa, West Des Moines. And Rodney, I want to say it's a pleasure to have you on here. I think it's very important that the people hear you out because you actually sold me on this. I had some hail damage and I also had some other dents on my car. And after speaking with you and going through the process, not only did you fix the hail damage, but you also fixed the dents on my car. Didn't cost me a dime, and my insurance covered it. Your company covered my deductible.
That's
it was
correct.
considered a claim act of God.
An act of God, so it doesn't count against your insurance policy for the future of your policy. Another thing is, well, for one, I really appreciate you letting me in here today. I really appreciate that. You guys are doing a great job, and I totally respect all that. I'd like you to know that with a claim like this, if you were to get in another accident and you didn't do your hail damage, that can hurt the involvement of the claim. And so that's a big priority there. The another thing is, you just mentioned that we did some extra stuff on your car. We'll try to make your car better than it was before the hail actually took place. And it will be free of charge, no cost whatsoever to the customer.
And there's even a rental car that's included if you have that in your insurance coverage.
That's correct. And if it's a 2 or 3 day, I'll still probably try to pay for your car for you if your insurance doesn't have that. Because I know you got to have your vehicle.
Right. So you're saying even if a person doesn't have the rental insurance on their insurance, your company will still pay that.
I would like to pay for that also.
Wow.
That's correct.
That's amazing, man. I think that everyone needs to be locked and loaded. You need to get this number, 515-608-3731. Paintless Dent Repair. That's right. Write it down. 515-608-3731.
And if I could say one more thing, don't underestimate what your value of your car is. Cars are bringing a premium right now, and it's your investment, and let us get a shot at taking care of it for you.
I think that's great. Thanks a lot, Rodney. And I hope that, a lot of people reach out to you. I hope that you're able to get the business. I mean, I think that you guys are doing something that no other company is doing. And
I appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to get back to Ken Silver. You're tuned in to the I.M.A.G.E TV podcast on YouTube. We'll be back right after these messages with Ken Silver. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, on the I.M.A.G.E Show. I.M.A.G.E episode number 43, I.M.A.G.E TV podcast. We've got Ken Silver in the house with us, and we're going to talk now a little bit more about election day, election time, what you need to probably have on your mind when you're thinking about voting. It's election time, Ken.
Boy, it sure is. And thank you for having Rodney on here. I wish you'd have had him on 2 weeks ago when I needed some work done on my car. That sounds like a great program.
Heck of a deal.
That's kind of like I look on the internet and it says the special at the restaurant on Tuesday is this much, and I'm reading it on Wednesday, But anyway, we talked a little bit about getting ready to re-enter into society. And of course, one of our responsibilities as society is to vote. And it's not only to vote, but to vote knowledgeably. And I want to talk about a few things here tonight. First of all, make sure you register to vote. Now, we're fortunate that we now can register on the same day that we vote. So you can go down to the polls and register and then vote. And of course, if you're going to do that, you have to know where to go to vote. And if you haven't gotten information by now from people that are running for office, you can go to a website called vote411.org. So that's VOTE 411 letters.org. Put in your address and that'll show you where to go to vote. If you voted absentee, if you got an absentee ballot, it's too late to get one now, but if you happen to get one already, you've got until November 7th to mail that in to make sure it counts. And we were talking during the break that these local elections are extremely important to us personally. we could have some interaction where we were required to deal with some of the local judges, with the local county attorney, maybe state attorney, and so on. These are people we get to vote for. And we could have some real close interaction with them. We want to make sure that we find out about their qualifications and vote our knowledge to the best of our ability. The major issues this time around across the country: abortion, crime, inflation, guns, the economy, and our climate, okay? Those are the things most people are interested this time around. Now, if you're going to go vote for somebody, make sure you know how they stand on the issues that are most important to you. My suggestion is forget all the mudslinging ads you see on television where they say, my opponent hates babies, my opponent kicks dogs, stuff like this. Find out what that person really stands for themselves. How do they feel about abortion? How do they feel about crime? Guns. Man, that's a big topic now, and it's a very hot topic, just like abortion. If you're running for office, you have to say, I'm against crime. Well, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, here's one of the things that I do have an issue with is the fact that I traveled around the country for felon voting rights. And it's still unfortunate that if you're on probation or parole, you cannot vote.
Right.
Now, we've got a lot of our society right here in Des Moines, Iowa, that are on parole and probation, and that X's them out from voting. And so I hope that ultimately we can get around to fixing that.
Well, thanks to some of the work that you've done and other people have done, it wasn't too long ago you couldn't vote at all if you had a felony on your record.
Yeah, that's true.
That's been changed. If you're not on probation and parole, even though you have a felony, you can now vote. And that's taken a lot of effort from people like you, talking to politicians. And so, that may be a hot topic for you personally.
Yeah.
Let's change that law so even if I'm on parole or probation, I can vote.
Yeah.
All right? Now, which of these people will agree with me and help me get that passed? So that's what you have to do. Figure out what's important to you, figure out which candidates agree with you, and then get to the poll and vote with them. Remember, deadline to mail in your absentee ballot is November 7th. It doesn't do you any good to fill it out and then leave it on the kitchen table. And it doesn't do any good to forget to vote or not vote. There's probably no excuse to not vote. We've got plenty of people that are willing to take you to the polls.
Yes.
You don't have to walk, you don't have to run, you don't have to skateboard, whatever. They'll come and get you and take you out to vote and hopefully bring you back.
I agree.
So we want to be responsible. It's a shame that we see every year we've got less than 50% of the eligible voters voting.
Yeah.
And it's like you talk, there's people that are eligible to vote that don't vote. There's people that would like to vote but are disqualified.
Well, and then for so long, a lot of us have not really felt that we've been a part of this whole voting process, particularly Black people, African Americans. And I know this from personal experience. They feel like, we feel like, and a lot of times, or felt like before that, we had no place in voting. And so we do have a place in voting, and your opinion counts, whether you're Mexican, whether you're black, and I want to say whether you're on parole or probation, because I think as a citizen, if you pay taxes, your opinion counts.
Well, this is the only way you can make your opinion known.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for tuning in to the I.M.A.G.E TV podcast. We are about out of time. Now, Ken, I know you probably got some more to say, don't you?
Oh, how did you? I've always got more to say. I'll just wrap up and say, please, especially the black community, be knowledgeable. Find out what the candidate is for. Don't vote for a candidate because they're black or green or yellow. Vote for what they stand for. And get out there and vote. I'm done.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you're locked and loaded into the greatest episode of I.M.A.G.E TV podcast. We want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for going live on location with us. Don't forget, December 7th, right here at the Renaissance Savory Hotel, downtown Des Moines, Iowa, a job fair for those of you that have been looking for a job, that need that push just to get off the couch, get out there and get a job. We encourage you, December 7th, get on down here at the Renaissance Savory Hotel. It'll be from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And we'll have employers lined up around ready to hire and give second chances to whoever needs them. Whether you're coming out of prison, whether you're a boy, girl, whatever, we've got opportunity for you.
Quit saying, oh, you're so politically incorrect. There are no boys and girls. There are young gentlemen and young ladies. And hey, what makes this podcast program possible?
Man, Ken, I'm glad to have you back with us. I'm glad that you're healthy. I'm glad I'm able to sit here and laugh with you. I hope that you're able to keep coming back on and we're able to have you back on our show.
Well, I hope so, and we're glad to have Midwest.
That's right.
Making this all possible.
That's right. Matthew has done a great job with this whole thing from start to finish.
He's been here since the beginning.
Yes, he has.
Can you imagine all the garbage he's had to listen to over these 43 years?
We are way past time. Thanks for tuning in. I.M.A.G.E TV podcast, episode 43. We're out of here.